Technology information, technology innovation is a big deal. Of course, it's the 21st century. This is the year 2020, and technology essentially is taking over everything. How important is it that Nigeria, especially this coming generation, is prepared for this technological age? Because technology essentially is driving everything we do now.
Yeah. So, first of all, before we understand the current information age, it's also good to know the precursor to this event, this current technological event, which is the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century. When Britain pioneered the Industrial Revolution, it changed the whole of Europe. It made Europe colonial superpowers. And also they became financial superpowers. They created a lot of inventions that led to creation of new companies and led to different creations as well, including the middle class, including successful middle class. So this current information age is an abstraction from the industrial age. So we are using technology, particularly internet technology, to do things in a better way. So there are lots of industries and opportunities now that if we don't take advantage of, we are going to be left behind economically. And another point I want to raise now is also when you look at Asia, in the 70s, they took advantage of the information age. They were left behind in the industrial age, and in the 70s, they started leading. They started developing the tools. They started developing the artifacts, the skills, the knowledge base. And that is why China now is a superpower. So going back to your question, if we don't take advantage of this opportunity as a nation, we are going to be left behind economically. There will be no middle class in Nigeria, and we'll end up preparing for a war that does not exist.
Now, Dr. Joseph, we don't have much time. I want us to touch on a number of things before we round off this conversation. Now, in order for us not to be left behind, because it feels like we've been playing catch up for many years. And it also seems like a lot of what we do is what's been handed over to us from the Western world, from Europe and America.
True.
So they give us our cell phones to use. They help us build our cell towers. They help us set up everything that we do when it comes to technology. Is there anything that we can do that is homegrown to us, like what China is doing, Southeast Asia and all these other countries, and even in the Middle East as well, what we can do from Africa, from Nigeria, that the world can benefit from when it comes to technology?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Like as I said before, there's a lot of opportunities, and particularly because the technology is growing at an exponential rate, we can look at areas like cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is still behind when it comes to growing at the speed of the current trend. And the current technologies that we have are not growing with cybersecurity. They're not growing with security in mind. So a lot of countries like Israel have taken advantage of this gap as well. So Nigeria can start innovating around that area. But first, we need to have that perspective of free thought, a culture of free thinking about how we can do things differently instead of checking boxes with innovation or development. We don't have to develop a new car. We can develop the existing car in a different way that will meet global demand, just like China. We don't have to develop toothpick. We can develop toothpick in a different way that will meet global demand. So the key is having the right perspective, taking advantages of opportunities like cybersecurity, innovating it, and then exporting it to the world.
Now, what's the most critical thing that we need to do now, especially in the area of maybe our education sector? The most critical thing that will prepare young minds for this information age to be competitive on a global level and also to innovate in the area that you're saying?
Okay, I really want young people, especially students in universities, to think of the education system as a nice school to develop your thinking abilities. It is not to develop skills for the world that exists currently. So there are a lot of platforms where I will advise students to go and start learning, becoming self-taught. Like I always go back to those industrial revolution, all those scientists, all those great inventions we read about, they were all from a bottom-up approach. There was no government support anywhere. So start thinking about e-learning. Start thinking about using free platforms like YouTube. Start thinking about sharing ideas on WhatsApp groups and coming up with wonderful inventions. Start thinking about using blockchain to raise money. You don't need a bank. There are no gatekeepers in technology. In the information age is a free for all. This is the greatest era that we've ever lived in the history of the world. So
Wow.
start thinking differently. That's my greatest advice.